Let's jump into today's training. So basically the general flow of things is I'm going to go through one of our key features within Annuities Genius. That usually takes about 2/3 of the time. And then the last portion, I like to go through an actual case that somebody that's attending can provide in the chat, the case details. And then we'll actually build it out in Annuities Genius and see what we get. And kind of use the tool in real time. And so I'm going to share my screen and let's jump into today's training. Um, just maximize this so you have a good view of everything. So today, what we're going to cover is one of our more popular, actually by far our most popular calculator. Um, I usually will try to go through this at least once a month because it's super easy to use as well as very simple and but super effective when it comes to functionality. And so I log in, I'm going to click on calculators and I'm going to come over here to our income calculator. Give me just one moment. All right, sorry about that. All right, so let's go through our income calculator. I'll pull up. You can see by default, it's going to pull the current customer that I'm working with, and obviously I can make adjustments to that. So that's pretty easy to make adjustments to. I can click their state. Obviously, as I change the state, it's going to show the products that are available each state, um, any funding mechanism, how much the customer, obviously, and then I can make adjustments if I need to change the client or edit it or anything like that. I can do that. On my left-hand side, I have the different filters that I can go through. So if I have like a rating filter, or I'm looking for different bonus or surrender terms or anything like that, I can easily navigate through all that and make adjustments. And then I have my rider features up top: performance, increasing income, enhanced payments, no rider fee, no income reduction. I'm going to keep it simple and I'll just stay with no income reduction. So we want a flat, or we want the same income guaranteed on this rider. Income is for, we're solving for income. We're going off of monthly withdrawals. Payout type in this case is joint. It's a couple, John Smith and his wife, and then spouse is 63, he's 65. Um, if I go to payout type to just, individual, and we're covering individual, I can adjust that as needed as well. And then right here, very easy to use. When or how soon do we need income? So how many years are we going to defer? So let's say we're going to defer, in this case, 5 years. So John is 70 and his wife is 68 in that case. And so as I make those adjustments, I'll come down. And then basically what it's going to do is it's going to show me, in this case, they have 420,000 that they're putting into this. It's going to show me what are the guaranteed rates that I'm getting on a monthly income level. And it's going to basically list these from the most guaranteed rate on a monthly basis on it, and then work its way down. And so you can see I have a bunch of different choices in this scenario. It's going to give me actually 156 for this one. And then depending on how I want to filter these out, or if there's any other pieces of the product features that I like or I'm curious about, I can go through and just check these, and then I can compare as needed as well. And then you can see to the left of the logo of the carrier, it has a action menu that I can jump in and I can go into Illustrate, or I can save this for the client annuity info, start the e-app for a lot of them, and basically get additional information as needed. And so pretty straightforward, nothing crazy about that. Again, I'm just picking, how much we're working with, the deferral time, and then the payout type, and it's going to generate what my monthly payments are right here. So pretty straightforward, easy to use. Nothing crazy about that tool. Now, the piece that I really like is actually, before we get into that, let's say that we are just solving for, let's say John in this case, and I just went to payout type single. And in this case, we're going to just go with 65-year-old John, and we'll say he needs payment. Let's say he's going to push us out a year to 71. and I can change that as needed. So if I'm like, hey, let's compare what it's going to be like for just, covering one payout as opposed to joint, it's easiest to click and turn that on and off. Or if I needed to make an adjustment and add a new client real quick or change the amount, I'd be like, actually, you know what? We're just going to look at 300,000 in this scenario. I'll click on that and it'll then adjust those numbers. So very simple to make adjustments along the way. Now, the piece of this that I really like, and I feel like you can utilize a lot when it comes to um, building specific recommendations around your client's needs, is I can solve for premium. And basically, what that means is I'm solving for how much do we need to get into a product to get an exact monthly guaranteed rate. So the reason I'll back up a little bit, and the reason that I like this a lot is I say this pretty often when I'm talking about Annuities Genius, is I would say the strong suit and where we really stand apart in the market is our sales enablement tools, meaning how can we help you sell better and sell one more effectively, but help you build strong cases so that you're closing more business and you're basically collecting more premium and ultimately being more successful in your career. And how we do that is basically problem solving. And in this scenario, how are we going to help our customers solve their problem for income in retirement? And so the reason I really like this is this allows me to have a more detailed conversation and kind of zoom out a little bit on looking at, all right, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what are your big picture retirement income needs? And let's say that they need, I don't know, $8,000 a month guaranteed income, or income in retirement is basically what they've kind of estimated on what those needs are. And let's say based off of their Social Security, other investments, of that 8,000, they have an income gap of 3,000. And so they're like, you know what? We need to find some type of investment vehicle that we can get a guaranteed $3,000 a month. In that case, if someone asked me that today and I didn't have this tool, it would probably take a lot of research on my end to kind of look at different scenarios and running different spreadsheets and potentially find that. Where this, I can basically utilize Annuities Genius and it's going to help me do that. And so, kind of as a review, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find a guaranteed $3,000 a month from an annuity product for my client. And so, in this case, I'm now going to say we're solving for premium. And then I'm going to say our desired monthly income is $3,000. I'll make sure that it's marked on monthly. And then I have same thing, joint payout type, income. Let's say that they want to start at 70, so 5-year deferral. I'll slide that, pretty straightforward. And then now you can see same thing. It's going to list the products that get me that guaranteed $3,000. And it starts with the least amount of premium needed, and then it works its way up from there. And so now you can say, oh, we have this NASA product that gets us, at 335,000, or this V-Star, which is A minus rated, or let's go to A plus plus, and we have this American Legion product, or I really like F&G. Let's go with F&G. We can get that at 346,000. And so what's great about this is now this is something that you can actually do client facing and go through with them. And so you're basically coming in saying, all right, client, let's see how we can solve this $3,000 a month retirement income gap. How are we going to do that? Here we go. And now we can basically search through it. And so you're basically adding value to your process. And it makes the process as far as why you're recommending this product a lot more clear. And so now when we have this conversation with Mr. and Mrs. Smith in this example, I'm not necessarily just pitching a product. I am solving a problem that they have. And so now as I transition to ultimately close them, that typically is going to go super smooth because they know why we're working with this product. It's because it's going to solve X, Y, Z, and here we go. And so that's the reason I really like this calculator is it allows you not just to find income numbers and do all that, but it helps you kind of plug those gaps when it comes to income needs, where at you as an advisor and an agent, it allows you to paint a picture on why you're making that recommendation. And you can take your clients along on that ride so that as you get towards, all right, does this sound good? Does this da 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 da? It makes sense. And now you're basically not just advisor or insurance agent or whatever, you're a problem solver, and your closing rate is probably going to go up quite a bit because you're basically just connecting the dots on why this makes sense for them. And so I'm just going to pause right there, see if we have any questions that popped up so far. It doesn't look like I see any right now. I guess I'll wait a second more. Does anyone have any questions with um, any of that we covered thus far? All right, no questions I can see. That's great. So again, for those of you who have Annuity Geniuses accounts, I would hop in and then just go through. It looks like someone has a questions. How many carriers do we have? Do you list on here? So within Annuities Genius, we have, I believe it's 111 now different carriers. The amount of carriers that we list on the actual calculator is going to be based off of the state and then the filters that you have. Um, Second question, calculator, do we need to have the 247? So the as far as the plans go, we have three different plans: our starter plan, our prime plan, and our genius plan. For this income calculator, you have to have at least the genius plan, or excuse me, at least the prime plan, so our mid-tier plan. Um, do you list variable annuities? We don't do variable annuities. Nope. Where is the premium amount on the screen? And so if you can see um, in the green right here, I'll highlight over it. There's this premium amount right here on what they would be putting in that. All right. Any other questions? Looks like someone raised their hand. So is the 335 guaranteed the payoff amount or the amount they need to put in it? Good question. That is the amount that they would need to put in the annuity to get that desired guaranteed $3,000 a month. So it's like, okay, let's say, for example, we're going to go with this F&G product. They would have to put in for $346,000 and 444 $346,444. So let's say, hey, that looks good. What's great about this is I can come in, I can go into Illustrate, all that, and then if I have my e-app set up through Annuities Genius, I can basically click on that, create the application, and I can go through the entire process on getting everything signed right there. So definitely simplifies things quite a bit. Um, I'm not going to worry. I'll just basically show you real quick what this looks like. I'll wait for it to load. It'll take a second. Um, it may take a lot longer because it's a demo and it's not the actual. So yeah, basically I just come in, I'll click the kind of different areas that it requests, and it will actually pre-fill out the application, which is pretty cool. Um, so the income, another follow-up question is, how do you show them the income gap before solving it? We have some tools, our retirement questionnaire on here that you can go through, or that can just be done by like your discovery call and kind of you going through that with your client if you have a process with that. And so there's a couple different ways you can do that. Other question is if you want to use carriers that you're not contracted with, will you submit the client's new application, carrier application, or is it not recommended? So if you're not contracted with a specific carrier, um, you really can't submit an application until you get appointed with them. And so for client-facing stuff, I probably would not show any carriers that I'm not contracted with currently, just to simplify and save you kind of the worry about doing that. Um, the Prime account is $179 a month. And then yeah, so the tool for the retirement income, Catherine, yeah, I'll show you that real quick. It's pretty detailed, so I'm not going to really get into it, but I'll show you kind of what it looks like. Um, so transitioning back to the CRM aspect of it. I have John and Jessica Smith in this case. And over here, we have a retirement questionnaire. It's about a series of 25 questions. So I'm not going to go through all those questions because it's pretty detailed. But when you go through it, you basically go through like their current portfolio, what their retirement income needs are, what their expenses are, how comfortable they are with risk, and then how they're currently invested. And then it will basically show them based off of what their risk appetite is, how much they are exposed to and kind of market fluctuations, and then what that looks like based off of market pullbacks. And then if they went off of their risk appetite on how they answer those questions, this is kind of a target portfolio. And then how you could get there with guaranteed protect, in this case, principal protected lifetime income. And obviously that can be done with an income bearing annuity in that case. And so uh, I'll probably go through this on a future webinar because this is pretty detailed. But this is one way to kind of go through the income gap scenario with that. And then yeah, so is there planning to that we can put the needs and different income sources to show? Yep. So yeah, you can actually go through all of that in here. It'll show the questionnaire actually goes through it that in detail. And so yeah, actually, if I come in here, you can kind of build it out right here. But like I said, this is about 25 questions, so it kind of takes a minute to go through. And so we can cover that in a future masterclass where I can dedicate the entire time to going through that and kind of show how you can utilize that um, if you don't have that built into your process right now. All right, so that's the like I mentioned, that's kind of the first portion of our webinar or our masterclass. If you've been to these before, how I like to transition and kind of finish up is going through it and building out an actual case. And so, with that being said, if somebody has an actual, one second, looks like there's another question that popped up. Can we filter the number of carriers? Yep, you can filter carriers, and then. Um, okay, so that's the questions I went through. All right, let's move on to building out a case. And so, if you don't mind, can somebody please in the chat put in a case details? So, what do I mean by that? Basically, give me like a client scenario. So, about at a bare minimum, I need to know their age, and then ideally, if you have like an investment amount in the state, and then any other additional information is helpful as well. That would be good. And so something like I have a client that's in Maryland that's 50 years old and needs income, or that's in, let's say, 15 years that has $200,000 and is looking for accumulation or income options. Or I have someone who's retiring in 4 years and has $300,000 in an IRA and is looking for guaranteed income. Or I have, something like that, where basically just a general case. All right, I'll give you just a minute more and then I'll go through. All right, so, all right, anyone else want to post one in there? All right, so we got Praveen's and then Roxanne's and Heather's. So let me just actually see if I can copy and paste one of these. If not, I'm going to type it in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start over and go back to our dashboard, and I'm going to go to create case. And so there's a couple different ways that you can do this. I can um, create case, and it'll basically I can put in the client information. That's option one. I'm going to go through client information, goals, objective, funding source, and any attachments that I want to put in. I can also enter the case in with just case description where it's a chat box or a prompt box. So this is utilizing, for those of you who aren't familiar with this is utilizing um, our GrantAI, so our AI tool, which is basically like your call it like your OpenAI or Gemini for annuities, and it's specifically built to build out annuity cases. And so it's just a type to text or a talk to text if you want to turn that on. And so let me just put this in real quick. And all right, Roxanne, I'll just throw in yours real quick. So I'm just going to say we have Ricky in Florida. Oops, can't type. Sorry, I can't copy and paste, so I'm just gonna have to read this kind of fragmented. 71 needs income in 2 years, max income. I'll say option three with 200,000, and I'm just gonna say it's an IRA. So pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go create. And then what this is going to do is this is going to add Ricky in this case, put into Florida, kind of fill out all this. Client needs income to start in 2 years. And then when I click on that, it's going to basically take me to kind of the prompt page. So what's great about this is with AI, and I'm not going to get too in detail with this because I don't want to run out of time. We have some pre-built prompts, and prompts are basically like the limit to what AI can do in a lot of cases is what you're asking it to do. And if you're not quite sure what to ask or how to use it, we kind of have pre-built prompts. So I can go through fact finding, annuity strategy, or product selection. In this case, since we know we need max income in 2 years, I'm just going to dive right into product selection and click that. So now what it's going to do is the AI tool is basically going to do what like a traditional marketer would do, where I would call them up or reach out to them and they would help me build out this case. It's basically like my personal, call it, marketer in your pocket, where it's going to do that for you. So it's going to go and filter through all the different annuity products that you have access to in the different carriers. In this case, it's going to look at maxing income for a 2 year deferral time with this client's $200,000 IRA. Now, it's not just going to make the product recommendation like we saw before, which was great. It's going to actually build the case on why it's setting up the case like it is. And so it's going to go through kind of, it'll basically, and we'll kind of see how as it's doing this. This takes a couple minutes, usually about 60 seconds or so. It's going to go through why it's making this recommendation, what the strategy is behind it. It's going to give me typically three recommendations, a primary recommendation with two alternatives, why it's making that recommendation, in this case, why this product is the primary recommendation. It'll go through key features, more details, and then it's going to give me kind of at the bottom, a general summary that I can utilize, and then the ability to actual go through the illustration. So the reason that this is such an awesome tool is I don't have to be an annuity expert. I can, let's say my day-to-day is selling life insurance, and once a month I trip over someone who has an old 401(k) that's looking for options with that. And so now I don't have to necessarily punt this off to somebody else or rely on my like in-house marketer or my agency marketer to help build it out. I can do that myself and actually have like a detailed build out. And it's not just an email with a recommendation and an illustration. It's a whole breakdown on why this product works. And so I don't have to go to the carrier page to get information. I don't have to go to the product brochure. It's all right there. So in this case, it's going through why the recommendation. It's kind of going through some key points, the alternatives, the next steps, and then it basically gives me the whole analysis right here. So what are we looking for? Lifetime income analysis for Ricky. Here's the details, here's the summary of it, and then here's the deferral time, kind of why the deferral time helps in the guaranteed income case. Breakdown of some of the details with this initial product recommend option one. I'll skip through the second options. How is your income guaranteed? It's basically pointing all that out. and then why it beats immediate annuities. In this case, the recommendation points, considerations to look at, and then the next step. So in this case, if I like this Jackson product that it recommended, kind of the first product, I can go into details, I can go into Illustrate, and I can do all that. So now, what would generally take me maybe a couple different phone calls, or it would take me a couple different emails sending details over to my marketer or trying to get someone to help me out with this. I can actually do it myself and have not just a recommendation, but basically like a whole presentation on why this recommendation works, which I think in most cases is probably going to give me enough info and call it sales ammunition to answer the majority of the questions that would pop up as I'm presenting this to my client. And so, um, I think we just worked on this for the last couple of minutes and we built out a whole case. And this is just recommendation number one. Maybe I don't like something or I wanted to change something, or I call the customer to set up my appointment and they give me additional information on something like they need, XYZ, or they're looking for something that gives them like, an LTC rider or whatever else. I can come in here and I can just chat that into the AI and it will help me revamp that. Also, if I come into more, this has pre-built prompts that help me kind of know, give me ideas of how I can also utilize um, the AI as well. And I don't have to think about, can it do this? Can it do that? So for example, if I go into like objection handling and I mention to the customer, hey, we can look at an annuity for an option, and they're like, oh, I heard annuities are really expensive. I can go, fees are too high, objection, go to send, and then what it's going to do is it's actually going to go through and give me a whole, call it report on overcoming the fee too high objection, and not just kind of a couple one-liners. It'll actually give me like an apples to apples comparison. Is if you're not investing in this case, this $200,000 in this recommended product, you're probably going to be in something else, and this is the fees associated with the mutual fund or an index fund or a managed account or whatever else. So you can actually have kind of it'll actually give me a comparison right here, an apples to apples comparison that you can review with them. That again gives you a lot of ammo when it comes to presenting that and you knowing your stuff. And so what's great about this is when it comes back to sales, and I say this all the time, a lot of it comes down to just confidence in one, knowing that you're doing the right thing for your client, but two, knowing that you know why we're making this recommendation and why it makes sense for them. So then it makes sense to the client and you can move forward. And that's when it comes to sales enablement and how our tool is not just going to give you recommendations, but the real ammunition and knowledge on why it makes a good fit for your prospective client. I want to be respectful of your time. That's we've kind of come to the end of our call for today. Any last minute questions or anything like that anybody has? All right. So I will mention too that the recording of this goes on our YouTube channel. So if you had someone call you or you had to bow out for a second, you can go to the recording on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, type in Annuities Genius, you'll find it there. It usually takes a few days for us to edit it and then pop it in. And then um, this is a standing webinar that we do every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And so feel free to join as often as you'd like. And I appreciate everybody hopping on. Roxanne, I see your question, currently 71. Yeah, so basically uh, you can just put that in and say, hey, I need the deferral time in this case, 14 months, and it will make that adjustment. And then last question is broker's choice getting the EF feature. Yep, as far as I know, they are in the process of getting that synced up right now. Um, awesome. Well, I appreciate everybody hopping on. Have a great day.